Your hand moved before you did, before your eyes adjusted, before you had a single thought that belonged to you. The screen was already on. And something in your chest, just slightly, tightened. Not enough to notice, just enough to stay. That was this morning. And it wasn't the last time today that something in you braced for something you couldn't name. The coffee shop at 9. The couple at the corner table not looking at each other. The barista whose smile was a little too practiced. The light overhead flickering at a frequency no one else seemed to register. You ordered. You sat. You looked at your phone. But something in you was still scanning the room, still taking inventory, still running. You didn't choose to notice those things. You just did. And this is the part that's hard to explain to someone who doesn't experience it this way. The noticing doesn't stop when you leave. It comes with you. The couple's silence, the barista's exhaustion, the light, all of it still somewhere in the background, still processing, still taking up space you didn't offer. By noon, you're already tired. Not from what you did, from what you took in. And the two don't look the same from the outside. From the outside, you had a normal morning. Coffee, a few errands, some emails. From the inside, your system moved through each of those things like it was reading a room it had never been in before. Cataloging, registering, filing. There's a pressure behind your eyes around 3 p.m. that isn't quite a headache. More like fullness. Like the part of you that processes the world has quietly reached its limit. And the day isn't done. You go to the thing in the evening. You show up. You're present, warm, engaged, good at this. Someone says something funny and you laugh at exactly the right moment. You ask the right follow-up questions. You fill the silences before they get uncomfortable. From the outside, you're completely there. But somewhere underneath that, something is still counting. Still aware of the shift in energy when 2 people across the table stopped making eye contact 20 minutes ago. Still holding the weight of a conversation that ended an hour ago and hasn't finished processing yet. Still carrying the low-grade tension of a room that felt slightly off in a way you couldn't point to and nobody else seemed to feel. You get home, the door closes, and your shoulders drop 2 inches you didn't know they'd risen. Your breath goes deeper. Not because something bad happened, just because the performance is over. Just because you can finally stop holding the shape. This is the part nobody talks about. Not the big overwhelm, not the dramatic crash. The quiet accumulation. The way a completely ordinary Tuesday can leave you feeling like you carried something heavy all day without ever seeing what it was. The way silence isn't just pleasant for you, it's necessary. Not in the way people say they need alone time after a long week. Something more fundamental than that. Something your body moves toward the way lungs move toward air. Not because you're antisocial. Not because something is wrong with you. Because your system spent the entire day running a process that most people around you weren't running, and it never got to close. There's something underneath this that goes deeper than sensitivity, deeper than introversion, deeper than needing more quiet than other people. At some point, your system learned something. It learned that environments are not neutral, that rooms carry frequencies, that people carry weight, that the space between what someone says and what they mean is a real place, and your system moves through it whether you want it to or not. This didn't come from nowhere. It came from paying close attention for a long time, maybe because you had to. Maybe because the cost of missing something once was high enough that your system decided it would never miss anything again. So it doesn't. It catches everything. The slight hesitation before someone answers. The smile that doesn't reach the eyes. The way a room changes when someone walks in who changes rooms. It catches all of it, and it processes all of it, and it never quite decides that any of it isn't important enough to file. The world doesn't help. Everything is on. Everything is updating. Everything is asking for a piece of your attention at the same time. Your phone learns what keeps you looking. The news cycle never closes. Someone somewhere is always saying something that your system treats as signal, even when it's noise. And the particular cruelty of it is this. It never feels like too much in the moment. It just feels like Tuesday. The overwhelm doesn't announce itself. It accumulates. Slowly. Quietly. Until one evening you're sitting in a room by yourself, doing nothing at all, and you realize you're exhausted in a way that has no obvious cause. And you don't know what to do with that. Because you can't point to the thing that drained you. Because it wasn't one thing, it was everything. Just everything. All day, at a volume only you could hear. You've told yourself a story about this, that you're just introverted, that you need more recovery time than other people, that you're wired differently. And those things might all be true, but the story has a quieter layer underneath it, one you don't say out loud. The one that sounds like, maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe other people aren't this tired at the end of a day where nothing went wrong. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I feel too much. Maybe I would function better if I could just take in less. That thought has probably visited you more than once. Maybe it lives somewhere close to the surface. And here's what's true about it. It makes complete sense that your system arrived there, because the world isn't built for the way you process it. The pace isn't built for you. The volume isn't built for you. The constant signal, the expectation of constant availability, the ambient noise of other people's lives bleeding into yours through a screen you carry everywhere, none of it was designed with your nervous system in mind. So your system adapted. It built walls. It built distance. It built a preference for quiet that started as recovery and somewhere along the way became the only place that felt safe. And this is where it gets harder to sit with, because you're not the only one in the room doing this. The person across from you at dinner tonight, they were carrying something too. Their own accumulation, their own weight from the day, their own version of the quiet exhaustion that doesn't have a clean name. And neither of you said anything about it. You both showed up. You both performed presence. You both went home and exhaled behind a closed door. Two people in the same room, each privately running a process the other couldn't see. That's not a failure of connection. That's just what it looks like right now. Everyone is full. Everyone is carrying more than they're saying. Everyone is a little more tired than their face shows. And somehow knowing that doesn't make it less lonely. It just makes the loneliness make more sense. Because there's a version of protecting yourself that is genuinely wise, knowing what costs you, choosing depth over volume, leaving rooms that drain you, saying no to things that leave you emptier than before. That is self-knowledge. That is honest. But there's another version, the version where the world got too loud, and so you made yours smaller, where connection started to feel too costly, and so you stopped reaching for it, where the exhaustion of taking in too much became the reason to take in less and less, until the circle of what you allowed yourself to feel became very small and very manageable and very safe. And from the inside, those two versions feel almost identical. Both feel like rest. Both feel like relief. Both feel like finally being able to breathe. The difference is almost invisible until you look at it directly. One leaves you more yourself. The other leaves you smaller. The tightness in your shoulders at the end of today wasn't from what went wrong. Nothing went wrong. That's almost the harder part. It was from being present, from showing up, from moving through a world that asks more from you than it asks from most people. And that is real. That is not in your head. That is your system doing exactly what it was built to do, in an environment it was never built for. The question isn't whether this is true. You already know it's true. You've known it for a long time. The question is what you do with that knowledge, whether you use it to understand yourself more clearly, or whether you use it as another reason to close the door. You put down your phone. The room gets quiet. Something in your chest loosens. Just a little. Just enough to notice. And maybe that's all tonight needs to be. Not an answer. Not a solution. Just a moment where you stopped adding to what you were already carrying and let some of it put itself down. If something in this felt familiar, not interesting but familiar, there's more here waiting for you. Subscribe if you want to keep going.